The camera above aisle 7 lit up red. No sound. But that little red light made my chest tighten every time it blinked on. Red meant recording, and recording meant consequences. I'm Mike Carter, and I work security at Greenvale Market. One of those fancy grocery stores where the floors shine like mirrors and people argue with cashiers over organic labels while food quietly goes bad in the back. Everything looks pristine, but outside those glass doors, life is anything but. My job? Simple. Watch. Follow. Catch. No feelings. No opinions. Just results. That's what Frank Reynolds, my boss, always said. He was the kind of guy who thought rules mattered more than reasons. He watched the store from behind tinted glass upstairs, sipping black coffee and waiting for someone to mess up. It felt like you were always being watched, like every little thing you did was under a microscope. You either followed the rules or faced the consequences. Most days, shoplifters were predictable: teenagers, addicts, people trying to be clever. But that afternoon, she didn't fit any category I knew. I noticed her because she stood too still. Evelyn Brooks stood in front of the rotisserie chickens like she was staring at a crime scene. The warm yellow light reflected off her thin face, every line carved by time and worry. Her coat was too light for the season, sleeves frayed, buttons mismatched. Her shoes were worn unevenly, like she favored one leg. You could tell she was carrying a weight far heavier than what her frail frame suggested. And then there was the purse. Oversized, brown, heavy, the kind of purse that doesn't carry fashion, only survival. She glanced up at the price sign and swallowed hard. Her hands trembled, just slightly, but enough for me to notice. I leaned against a pillar, pretending to check my radio while watching her reflection in the freezer glass. It felt wrong to stare, but I couldn't help it. There was something about her that pulled me in. She waited. Too long. People about to steal always wait. They wait for courage or desperation to win. Finally, she reached out, lifted one roast chicken, still warm, and held it for a second, like she was apologizing to it. Then she slid it into her purse, slow and careful, hands shaking so badly I thought she might drop it. My stomach tightened. I didn't move. I followed her eyes instead. Left, right, up toward the ceiling. She knew about the cameras. She pressed the purse shut and exhaled like she'd been underwater. I should have stopped her then, but something told me to wait. She pushed her cart forward, empty except for a single dented can of soup. In the bread aisle, she stopped again. This time there was less hesitation. She opened the purse and slid a loaf of white bread inside. Gentle, almost respectful. It hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't theft driven by greed. This was theft driven by time running out. I followed her toward the exit, 5 steps behind. The store buzzed with life, scanners beeping, carts rattling, people complaining. But around us, everything felt muted, like the world knew something important was about to happen and decided to hold its breath. Above us, the camera watched. Upstairs, Frank watched. The exit sensors stood ahead like silent judges. She crossed them. They didn't beep. That didn't matter. I stepped in front of her anyway. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice professional and neutral. "Please come with me." She froze. Not figuratively. Literally. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the cart to keep from falling. Her purse slipped off her shoulder, and she clutched it like a child. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then her lips moved. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't." Her whole body shook so violently, I thought she might collapse right there on the floor. I could see the panic in her eyes, and it made my heart ache. Shoppers walked around us, annoyed, avoiding eye contact. Nobody wanted to be part of whatever this was. It's funny how people can be so close yet so far away, right? They were just trying to get their groceries, oblivious to the turmoil unfolding in front of them. "My social security check didn't come," she said, voice cracking. "I've been calling for days. My husband, Harold, he's bedridden. Stroke last year. He hasn't eaten protein in 3 days." She finally looked up at me. Her eyes weren't defiant or angry. They were terrified. I looked up at the camera. I could already hear Frank's voice in my head. "Protocol, Mike. You know the rules." And I did. Handcuffs. Backroom. Police call. Paperwork. Promotion. I also knew what would happen to Evelyn Brooks if I followed them. I had 2 choices. Do my job and ruin her life, or break the rules and risk losing mine. I reached for her purse. She flinched so hard it hurt to watch. Instead of pulling out the chicken, I raised my voice. "Ma'am," I said loudly, clear enough for the camera to hear. You forgot to scan these items at the register." Her head snapped up. Confusion, hope, fear, all tangled together. I turned toward the checkout lanes and started walking. "Come on," I said. "Let's fix that." I didn't wait for her answer. She followed. Every step felt heavier than the last. Frank's office window loomed above us like an unblinking eye. My palms were sweating. My heart pounded so loud I was sure the microphones could hear it. At register 3, I placed the chicken on the counter. Beep. Paid. The bread. Beep. Paid. I pulled out my wallet again and added a carton of milk. Then I paused. I grabbed a pie. Apple. The cheap one. The kind that smells like comfort even before you open the box. Beep. Paid. I slid the receipt toward her. "Keep this," I said quietly. "If anyone asks." Evelyn stared at the bag like it wasn't real, like it might disappear if she blinked. Then she reached out with trembling hands and grabbed mine. Before I could stop her, she kissed it. Right there, in the middle of the store. She didn't say thank you. She just cried. I watched her walk out, clutching the bag to her chest like it was oxygen. I imagined Harold at home. A quiet apartment. A man who didn't know how close hunger had come to winning. 10 minutes later, Frank called me upstairs. "I don't know yet if I'm fired. But I know this. Hunger isn't a crime. It's a tragedy. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is decide that a rule matters less than a human life." I think about that moment a lot. It's wild how one decision can ripple out and change everything. What if I hadn't stepped in? What if I had just followed protocol? Evelyn would have been dragged away, humiliated, her story lost in the shuffle of a busy grocery store. But by breaking the rules, I felt like I was part of something bigger. I wasn't just a security guard. I was a human being trying to make a difference in a world that often overlooks the struggles of others. Every day, I see people hustling through life, consumed by their own problems, completely unaware of the battles being fought around them. It's easy to forget that behind every face, there's a story, a struggle that could make you rethink everything you thought you knew. And that's why I'll keep thinking about Evelyn Brooks and her oversized brown purse, filled with stolen food. Because in that moment, I chose to see her as a person, not just a thief. And maybe that's what we all need to do a little more of.